With all of these stage effects, the band had a lot to think about. One of the things they had to think about was how they were going to continue to pay for these live performances. Ticket sales helped, but the staging for their concerts cost tens of thousands of dollars per week. The next step. The band's first 3 albums were Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dressed to Kill. The 3rd album eventually went on to reach the top 40. At the time, though, these albums were not giving Kiss the fame and fortune they needed to be successful. The band had to come up with some way to boost sales. Radio stations really did not play their songs, so they were not getting any money from that. They had built a huge fan base with their concerts, but they still needed to get their music out to the rest of the world. If not, they would not be able to afford the cost of their live performances. What they needed was a hit album, an album that would break into the top 10. That was all there was to it. But how were they going to make their next album bigger and better than the last 3? Going live. Kiss were not the only ones having money problems. Their record company, Casablanca Records, was almost bankrupt. Everyone was nervous about the future of the band. They eventually decided that since their live shows were such a hit, they would somehow bring that energy to their next album. That was how they came up with the idea of recording their live concerts for an album. Paul Stanley explained, "Our record sales were pretty soft, but we were building this huge reputation as a live band. We figured that either people didn't like our records, or else they didn't capture what we were like live. We felt that we needed to give people a souvenir of the live show." The idea to do a live album not only saved Casablanca from its financial troubles, it launched Kiss into superstardom. This move turned out to be the defining moment in Kiss history, or, as many call it, Kisstory. Making Kisstory. Alive was released on September 10, 1975, as a special 2-album set. The band spent 4 months recording the albums, using the best songs from their first 3 albums. Some of the hit songs on the album included Deuce, Strutter, Black Diamond, the soon-to-be-famous Rock and Roll All Night, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll. The album was recorded during different concerts in a number of cities. However, most of the album was recorded in front of 12,000 fans in Detroit, Michigan, at Cobo Hall during a May 16, 1975 concert. With a sellout crowd roaring their approval, Alive captured the energy of the hottest band in the land, as Kiss were rather modestly billing themselves in 1975. The band was actually presented with an award for breaking an attendance record at Cobo Hall. Until then, only Elvis Presley, once known as the King of Rock and Roll, had sold more tickets to a concert performance there. Kiss became so popular in Detroit that, after the 1975 Kiss concert, the media nicknamed Detroit Kiss Town. When the live recording was finally complete, the tapes were brought back to the studio. Some things were added or enhanced for effect, like audience background noise. The album was then edited and mixed to create the final product. Some vocal and drumming sets were also redone. This was to improve the overall sound of the record. Just how much was done in the studio remains a mystery. This album was different in a lot of other ways, too. The band and the recording company both realized that they had to put a lot of effort into marketing the album for it to be a success. Along with the actual record, the album came with a lot of extras. It had an 8-page booklet filled with concert photos. The album cover itself opened up. On one side, there were notes from band members. The other side showed the band's 3 previous albums. The sleeve of the album showed the characters from the 1940s movie Casablanca. This was clearly a tribute to the record company Casablanca. The movie actors are covered in a cloud of fog. The logo reads, "The image is getting clearer." The other side of the album sleeve listed all the albums Casablanca Records had ever released.